it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book Freakout tag. I've been seeing this tag go around a lot lately, and I've been watching everyone's videos, so I thought I'd do this tag as well. This tag was created by Chami from the channel IsThatChami and Ellie from Earl Grey Books. I'll put a link to their videos down below. The first question is, what's the best book you've read in 2018 so far? For this question, I'm going to have to go with Alphas Like Us by Krista and Becca Ritchie. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love this series, and Krista and Becca Ritchie are my favorite authors of all time. This is the third book in the Like Us series, which is the spin-off series from the Addicted series. This third book includes Maximoff Hill's story and his relationship with his bodyguard, Pharaoh Keene, for now. But there's going to be another book about him in the series at some point. I really liked this book. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a really good book and a nice ending to their story for now. The second question is, what's the best sequel you've read in 2018 so far? My answer for this question is Firefight by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in his Reckoners trilogy, which is a young adult fantasy trilogy. The trilogy is about people who have superhuman abilities, and the people who have these abilities use these abilities to wreak havoc on society and basically destroy the world. I really liked the second book. I think it's my favorite book in the trilogy, and I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Also, these were actually the first books I read by Brandon Sanderson, and I loved this trilogy. So this trilogy definitely makes me want to read more of his books. I really like him as an author. He writes great stuff. Next question is, what's a new release that you haven't read yet but you still want to? My answer for this question is Alpha by Jess Accardo. This is the third and final book in a YA science fiction trilogy, and this book is actually releasing July 3rd, 2018. I want to start reading this trilogy in July really soon, so hopefully I like this third book. What's your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? My answer for this question is The Chase by Elle Kennedy. This is the first book in a spin-off series of her Off-Campus series, which is a new adult romance series. This series is also new adult. It follows the younger generation of hockey players at Briar University. This first book follows a girl named Summer, who is Dean's younger sister from the previous series, and her romance with a guy. I'm looking forward to reading the spin-off series since I love the Off-Campus series, and it was one of the first series that introduced me to the new adult genre, so I'm really looking forward to this spin-off series. I know that I'll love it. My biggest disappointment for this year so far is Immortals by Gillian Shields, and this is the first book in a YA paranormal romance series. I read the first book a few months ago, and it was absolutely terrible. I gave it 1 star, and I've actually already unhauled this book. This book follows a girl who's sent off to a boarding school because her mother is dead. Her grandmother's in the hospital, but she has a dad who is an army officer and he travels a lot for his job. So the main character has no choice but to go to this boarding school. When she gets to this boarding school, she complains a lot and is frustrated with her situation so much, and that kind of ticked me off about her character. She was so annoying. She meets this guy who she only sees at night, and the connection between them is insta-love. I didn't believe in their relationship at all. This book reminded me so much of Twilight. In the way that the main character was acting, I had no choice but to give it 1 star. It was just completely terrible. My biggest surprise for this year so far would have to be Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book that I read by him, and I absolutely loved this trilogy. I'm really excited to check out more of his books in the future since he writes great fantasy, and everyone raves about Brandon Sanderson, so I know that I'll love him as an author if I've loved this trilogy. My favorite new author for this year so far would have to be, again, Brandon Sanderson, which I've just mentioned. Another new author I've read this year is Penelope Douglas. I read the first book in her Fall Away series, which is a new adult romance series, in February 2017, but I never continued on with the series, so this year at the beginning of the year, I reread that book and actually continued the series. Penelope Douglas isn't technically a new to me author for this year, but since I I reread that first book and continued on with the series, I'm looking forward to reading more of her books. I hear she's a really great romance author, so I definitely want to read more of her stuff. My newest fictional crush for this year so far would have to be Manning Sutter from the Something in the Way series, written by Jessica Hawkins. Manning Sutter is the main love interest for the main character throughout the series. I read this book series a few months ago, and this is a new adult romance series. The main character meets Manning Sutter since he's a construction worker near her house for the summer. The main character and Manning Sutter have an age gap, so the series is basically an angsty forbidden romance. The series has a lot of ups and downs, and it's really angsty. I enjoyed this series, and I definitely love Manning. He's such a sweet and kind character. The next question is, what's your newest favorite character this year so far? I have two answers for this question. The first one would be Chami from Lock and Key by Sarah Dessen. This is a YA contemporary standalone book. Chami in this book is just a warm, loving character, and he wants the best for the main character as well as the main character's sister who he's married to. He's just a loving character and he's so sweet, since the main character and her sister didn't really come from a nice family background, and Chami, in contrast, has a big, close family, so he tries to incorporate some of his family traditions for the main character and her sister. He's just an all-around nice guy, and he's really understanding and supportive to the main character through this book, which I absolutely loved. My other answer would have to be Mac from Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen. Mac is willing to listen to Sydney, since Sydney doesn't really have anyone who listens to her and her family, and Mac is a good listener. Sydney and Mac have a little bit of a romance in this book. The next question is, a book that made you cry. For this question, I would have to go with Epic by Julie Ann. This is a book that I just read this month, and I absolutely loved it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I did cry during one certain moment in this book, during one certain scene. This book is definitely emotional, and I loved it. The next question is a book that made you happy. For this question, I'm going to have to go with Alphas Like Us again, since I loved the journey that Maximoff and Pharaoh take in this book. Since a lot of changes happen in their lives in this book, I just loved the journey that they took together in this book, and the fact that they still love each other as a couple despite all of these unexpected changes. I just loved this book so much, and I loved the family aspects to this book as well. I believe I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars when I first read it. It's just a really amazing book that makes you feel all of the emotions, but the one emotion that sticks out the most is happiness. I just love Maximoff and Pharaoh as a couple. Favorite film adaptation you've seen this year? I haven't really watched any film adaptations, so I'm gonna have to skip this question. The next question is, beautiful book that you've bought or received. For this question, I have two answers. Again, Alphas Like Us is appearing, since I just love Maximoff on this cover and how he looks against the red writing. I think this is an awesome book cover, and I just like how the Hales look in general. I'm a sucker for the Hale family. My second answer for this question is the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan, but in particular, The Mark of Athena, which is the third book in this series. And this is a YA fantasy series I read a few months ago. All the books in this series have stunning, colorful colors, and the design of the covers really matches each book in the series or what happens in each book. But my favorite cover in the series is The Mark of Athena. I just love the two horses in this book, and the fact that each camp in this series are working together on the journey now, and it shows the juxtaposition between Camp Jupiter and Camp Half-Blood on this cover, which I really enjoyed. The third book in the series, The Mark of Athena, really depicts what the series is about overall, and that's why I love it. The final question to this tag is, what books do you hope to read by the end of the year? I plan to make a whole video about this in September most likely, but the answers off the top of my head are the Beautiful series by Jamie Maguire. I'd like to finish that series this year. More of my YA and adult SFF books, that I've mentioned in quite a few videos, I want that to be the primary focus in this latter half of the year, since I want to get into more fantasy and since I like science fiction. I would also like to get to some of my future 5-star read books. Maybe I'll read a couple of those by the end of this year. Who knows? That's what I'm thinking for now. Those are all of the questions to this tag. Comment down below and tell me what some of your answers to these questions might be. If you want to see more of my videos, I'll put some videos up on the screen in case you guys want to check those out. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you really want to watch more of my videos. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.